I'm working on all of these things because I have a very, I think I talked about this too last week, a very clear idea of what I want my life to feel like. Now, do I know what I want my life exactly to look like? I have an idea, but I do know what I want my life to feel like. And if I am waiting for that life to appear before I actually start acting and like embodying the values that I say that I want so that I can actually hold that type of life, I can't expect that. That's unrealistic. Hello. Okay, so this past week was a very good week. Um, I have started dividing or not dividing my days, but kind of designating my time into boxes. So there is like time for visioning of like making plans and setting the direction. There's also time for like connecting, as in like doing outreach for like interviews or podcasts or whatever. And then I have a few other ways of connecting. I guess like there's like edit mode of like actually doing the work, creating the content, publishing, editing, all of that stuff. And there's another one that I can't quite think of, but it'll probably come to my mind after I turn off this video, which seems like that's how it always works, right? So last Tuesday, I sat down for an interview. It was very interesting being the one to be interviewed instead of doing the interviewing. Um, but it was a really great interview talking about Reverb and Root, talking about what it looks like to live on your own terms, talking about all types of things. I think that podcast episode comes out like May 11th, so I will add it as a link into the description. Um, so yeah, this things have been going really well. I've also been thinking a lot about macro theory versus micro embodiment, and you may be like, what the hell is that? Um, I've been thinking about that in terms of how I speak about the work and the purpose of the work and all of that. So, macro theory, I talk a lot about that. I just never realized that that's exactly what it's called. But when I talk about women and femmes of color needing to take action on their ideas because those ideas will be the things that dismantle oppressive systems. That is my like macro level thinking and theory. Um, and I think that that's great. And it's like a big, huge reason as to why I even decided to create Reverb and Root. But something that I have had to come to terms with, which has been happening during my thinking times, once a week, I go to my local coffee shop and I sit with a notebook, sometimes my computer, and I will just sit and think. And so this came to me through that. One thing that I've had to come to realization about is that even though I am someone who thinks macro on like large scale, big level, systems thinking, a lot of people, maybe even it's hard to think in terms of that, taking action to dismantle on a large scale when so many people are trying to even muster up the courage to feel safe within themselves and to actually take action and do things on even like a small scale in their personal lives. And so I have realized I'm like, okay, I believe in the macro, obviously. I also believe in micro embodiment, which is coming alive within yourself so that well, by way of like not shrinking, honoring your ideas, taking yourself seriously, things like that. And so finding a way to be able to hold the two together and not think in such a binary way. Because I think that personal revolutions really do create a macro level of change. And perhaps that is the way that I need to speak about the work. Make it a little bit like not make it smaller, but talk about it on more of an individual micro scale so that people can feel it and it really can resonate in that way. And so I sent an email about this to my email subscribers who have subscribed to Reclamation Notes. If you have not subscribed, I will add a link below. Um, so yes, I'm thinking about this all in like a more even figure out how to even more embody like decolonial values. Um, and I talked about this a little bit last week of like reframing, getting out of my own way, but I'm also thinking about how to create that and like put that more into the work, if that makes sense. So, I told the email subscribers, my email subscribers, that I will be reworking the language on the website a little bit. Um, I've also, yeah, there'll just be some changes. That's what I'll say. I have a little to-do list, and so before I go talking about it, because that's what exactly what I was about to do, I really just need to actually like do it and then figure out like the way to talk about the changes, instead of rambling, like I can feel myself about to do. I have a number of interviews that I need to edit. I Whew, I do. And I'm still looking and constantly reaching out to more people who would like to sit down for an interview with me to be added to the archive. So if you're someone who's interested in that, please let me know. I would love to interview you and have your story shared onto the website. Um, what else has been going on? From a personal standpoint of like my relationship with my work, and really just life, honestly, I have been making it a practice to ask myself three questions at the end of every day. Let me get it. One is, hold on. Okay. One is where did I overprove today? As in, where did I allow my insecurity to take hold and push me over that limit and into overworking and overexhausting myself to prove my worth and to feel secure in the work that I'm doing. So that's one. Two is where did I hold back from being seen? I talked about this last week. I think I talked about it a lot last week. That was a long video. I talked about this a little bit last week, I think, about visibility and me working on holding the capacity or increasing my capacity to hold the visibility that's required with this work because I can't really say that I want to continue growing this like global archive and do global work with, Black, Indigenous women, femmes of color from all over the world, and also at the same time be in my little shell. Those things they're not really compatible. So I've got to get comfortable. So where did I hold back from being seen? That is something that I've been working on. So my little micro goal is every day do like one little thing that pushes me out just a little bit further. I have these waves where it's like I'm very comfortable with being seen and talking about the work and talking about what I'm doing and all of the things. And then there are some times when I just can feel myself kind of pulling back a little bit. And so I think I hope that that's not like a constant battle of having to remind myself that the work and myself are separate. Like I do the work, but I am not the work. I think that's a big part of where that comes from. So working on that, that's the second question. And then three is where did I let something be enough? Where did I let something be enough? That one, I constantly find that I'm the type of person where I'm like, oh, well, this can be like improved a little bit better. Like I can, if I work on it a little bit more or a couple more hours or, just one more thing, then it'll be better. I can make it perfect. And what happens when I do that is I look up and I've spent my whole day on a computer or I think the issue is tying worthiness to overworking and exhaustion. Like if I feel like I don't let myself sometimes feel proud and like feel like the work is enough unless I feel like tired and worn out and all the things. So over like trying to work through that. So those are three questions. Where did I overprove today? Where did I hold back from being seen, and where did I let something be enough? Those are 3 questions. I think those 3 questions, in addition to therapy and in addition to really trying to live out decolonial values and um, not rush my life and not just rush to the next thing and really allow myself to enjoy the good stuff that's happening and also be okay with sitting and holding uncertainty and hope together. Um, I'm working on all of these things because I have a very, I think I talked about this too last week, a very clear idea of what I want my life to feel like. Now, do I know what I want my life exactly to look like? I have an idea, but I do know what I want my life to feel like. And if I am waiting for that life to appear before I actually start acting and like embodying the values that I say that I want so that I can actually hold that type of life, it's just, I can't expect that. That's unrealistic. So, yeah, those are the things. I am very much working on the archive. And it's going very well. I am behind on stories a little bit, so I'm working on that this week and next week. Um, Dreamlab is still going slow, but going. And I am thinking of some ways to reframe the work and make it more tangible and make it something that's not so heavy and only about dismantling, but also about creating personal revolutions in our lives by way of clearing our own paths. So that's about it. I hope you have a great week and had a great weekend. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye.